everyone. I'm Emily from Mind Growth Lab. I am an executive leadership coach and life coach who helps my clients who are navigating stressful, pivotal life transitions that could be career upheaval, divorce, or really anything else that's going on in their personal or professional life. And I'm so happy doing a little different style today. I have Sarina Tomel here. She is from Tal Tomel and a recovering perfectionist, and we're going to be talking about that exact topic. So, Sarina, welcome. I would love to hear about you and how you became a recovering perfectionist.
Yes, thank you so much, Emily, for inviting me.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore you, and I'm so excited to be here with you today discussing this topic that is something that I have struggled with all my life, being a perfectionist. And I have since become a recovering perfectionist. So, yes, I am Sarina Tamel. I'm a leadership mindset coach. I am an HR strategist. I came from working in corporate from, HR for 20 years. And I have a Substack called Recovering Perfectionist with Sarina Tamel. I facilitate a group coaching session called Tell Tamel for recovering perfectionists. And I also work with clients one-on-one and group and workshops as well. So, yes.
Yeah, what exactly is perfectionist? I know we both work with a lot of people that consider themselves one. So what's that, and how do you become a recovering perfectionist?
Yes, yes. Oh, gosh. So the perfectionism is the perfectionism is that all or nothing type of thinking. It is being so focused on controlling all outcomes for yourself and outcomes in different situations. And what's behind it is the fear of like failure, the fear of making a mistake, the fear of being judged or not accepted, right?
Yeah.
And so it's rooted in that, and it shows up in different ways, right? It shows up in the way we think. It shows up in the way we approach different scenarios in our behaviors, relationships, our work approach. I would definitely say I'm also a recovering workaholic, and that definitely ties into being a recovering, perfectionist, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of my clients, their perfectionism has helped them to be successful, but up to a point. And that's a lot of times when they're coming and working with me because there's sneaky ways that are socially acceptable, but it's like deteriorating them from the inside out and actually undermining their success. So a lot of it is figuring out, why do I feel this way and what's going on behind the scenes, because it's hard to identify. So can you speak to that? I'm sure you work with your clients on that too.
Yes, yes. So I think it's good to also state that perfectionism and recovering perfectionism, like I see it as a continuum, right? You have perfectionism on one side and recovering perfectionist on the other side. And the goal is not to go from one extreme to the other, because that's the exact opposite of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to be the perfect recovering perfectionist, right? So we are looking to find a balance between that continuum. We are looking to not get rid of all our perfectionist tendencies per se, but we're learning to work with it and use it and leverage it as a superpower, because that's how I see it. It's a superpower. And we want to learn to work with it and not let it take us out. And so we want to move more towards the middle. And of course, there might be people that move towards the other side and really are that recovering perfectionist, and like the perfectionism doesn't really take them out, and they just kind of let go of a lot of it. And that's fine, but we're not saying you have to go from one extreme to the other. It's dwelling in the in between. So finding that balance, moving towards the middle, that's ideal. So, yeah.
What are the two sides, if you could define them loosely, or like how can someone recognize if they're leaning more perfectionist versus recovering perfectionist, or just once in a while having some perfectionism here and there, but they aren't necessarily like, it's not taking over their life and it's not really an issue.
Yeah, yeah. So we were talking about the all or nothing thinking with perfectionist type of approach. And it's also like, again, it's the control. It's either or kind of thinking. It's, I see it come up with my clients just in the way they speak as well. I see it come up in their approach.
Yeah. So there's the rigid thinking, which is
Mm-hmm.
people can notice if they're very like, this is black and white, or strong language, like I should be doing this, or
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't go this way, it's wrong, and there's really no middle ground. But also a lot of it is, I feel like I have to control this, like micromanaging shows up a lot,
Yes.
or um a lot of really like negative thinking, inner critic of like, if
Mm.
it doesn't go exactly this way, you're doing horrible, and just not being
Yes.
compassionate. And these are the signs that feel like you're motivating yourself, but
Yes.
actually there's other more gentle ways that
Yes.
aren't so stressful. Like usually I notice in
Yes.
clients, if they're very stressed out all the time because of the way they're thinking and feeling, and it's tied to
Yes.
their success, it's tied to their sense of self-worth, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
conditional. If I don't achieve this thing or put in this much effort, then I'm a failure. Like those, and maybe it's not that extreme all the time, but those are the signs. So,
Yes.
it's sneaky. Perfectionism is not always the
Yes.
person that's like perfectly dressed and showing up. A lot of us
Yes.
might have a totally different appearance, but internally we are exhibiting perfectionist tendencies.
Yes, yes. And I definitely resonate with a few of those that you mentioned for sure.
Yeah, you want to share
This,
your story about how you realized you're a
yes,
perfectionist, and then how
yes,
you were able to help others as a coach doing
yes,
that?
yes, for sure, for sure. Before we get into that, the self-worth piece is definitely a big part of that. It's that, will I be accepted? Will I be judged? It's
And the irony
seeking.
is you're the only person that really is judging and not accepting yourself. Most
Yes,
people are fine with however you're showing up.
exactly. It's that, the fear of failure, fear of mistake, fear of not being accepted, fear of being judged,
Yeah.
and just all of that, and your self-worth being tied to your accomplishments or success. And so that's a big, big, big part of being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And so it's focused more on the success and the destination as opposed to the journey.
Yeah, and the effort you put in.
Yes, and the joy along the way.
Yeah.
And so for me, the way I became a recovering perfectionist, it was kind of accidental, actually. It was never my intention. I was very much a proud perfectionist. I was like, this is who I am, this is how I show up, and that's that. And it
Yeah.
was working pretty well for me and served me really well. And it wasn't until I had to break up at age 30 with my 7-year boyfriend that there was an almost proposal that didn't happen. And from that, I decided I needed change. I needed something to shift me out of that breakup into a new version of who I was going to become. And so I decided to learn to love something I hated, which was running. And that principle actually became the catalyst for me becoming a recovering perfectionist. And I had no idea. I had no idea that that was going to happen.
Had you identified that you were a perfectionist at this point?
Oh, yes.
How did you realize in your relationship that you were showing up as a perfectionist? Like, how did it tie into
Oh,
that?
oh. I mean, I remember there were times I remember there were times I was at work and I was working crazy hours. That was the workaholic. And I think it was a Friday night, and I was staying late, and my boyfriend came to work with dinner. And I was like, I don't even think I was that appreciative of that,
You're
like,
probably like, I have work to get done.
yes.
This is interfering with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came
Which,
to
I
work.
also work with a lot of divorce, people divorcing, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily think that perfectionism plays a factor, but it is, because work ties into your personal life. And even in the
Yes.
relationship, you might be trying to micromanage your
Oh,
partner.
it
But
was
continue
so
with your
bad.
story.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so bad. And it brings to mind another little memory of I had a post-it note of things I needed to get done one time on a particular day, and he put down "make time for your boyfriend" on it.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, I did.
Was that
Obviously.
helpful?
Yeah, but it was like a little joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Joke that's not really a joke.
yeah, it was kind of funny. I mean, I have definitely made progress, and again, I am not cured from perfectionists. I am a recovering perfectionist. This is still a work in progress for me. So,
Yeah.
I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
It's not about being cured, and again, I love and embrace different parts of myself now.
Yeah.
So it's not about, and I have more compassion and grace with myself. And I'm learning that, maybe to be underprepared sometimes is a better approach than being overprepared and so rehearsed and not as relaxed, and learning to
and
be more
noticing
present.
what happens too. So if you practice, I'm not going to show up with the A plus plus effort. I'm going to just try and do it at a B minus level. And then like, oh, that actually went well. Or it didn't go well, which is also okay. But what could have you, like, what should you have done different? What could you have done? Where did the perfectionist tendencies you like to do, where would that have helped you? Where it didn't? Like, it's like assessing, taking a step back and reflecting. And shifting more to excellence rather than it has to be perfect, which is such a important distinction.
Yes. I like to say, you bring to mind a couple things that I like to say, I'll speak on the last thing, and then I hopefully I'll remember the other part. But I like to say, one of the strategies I have, I talk about with my clients now is focusing on proud over perfect, right?
I
so
like that.
Being proud over perfect. And there's an approach to it. And it's really just a simple, easy reflection type of exercise that you can do after you've completed a project, after you've had a conversation, or you can reverse engineer if you like. You could think ahead of time, what would make me feel proud? So if it's after the project or the conversation, you reflect and you say, what went well? What made me proud? Or do I feel proud of what I just accomplished? If you're thinking about ahead before you get started, then it's like, what will make me proud? What kind of results will make me proud here? And at the same time, you can also think about what you can do differently next time. How can you improve? How can you pivot?
Yeah.
It's not the either or. You can still be proud of what you've accomplished, and you can still have things that you want to learn and grow and improve. And so that's the key aspect there.
Yeah. And being
proud over perfect.
Yes. Moving forward, as opposed to self-critical, like, wow, you didn't do that right. Or, insert any negative thought versus, okay, I learned from this, so next time I'm going to do, rather than, you're so stupid, you're dumb, like, why? All of that is dangerous. But okay, that didn't go great, but I'm being compassionate towards myself, and we're going to learn, and next time it will be better.
Yes. You just made me think of another thing that came up with one of my clients. I mean, I pick up on all the language, that they say, and
language is so important.
Yes. And it's just, I just pick it up. They don't even realize it. They don't even realize how many times they say it or whatnot. But one client, she said to me, how do I make myself I'm procrastinating. How do I make myself do this? And I said, it's not about making yourself do it, because that's the resistance right there, right?
Yeah.
And so it's more about, how do you motivate yourself to do it? Right?
Yeah.
So not make yourself, motivate yourself.
Yeah.
So
like, I choose to do this, or I want to do this. Which actually, when you were sharing your story about the breakup, I really love to look at what's important to you and what your values are, because if your perfectionism is making you do everything so well in this domain of life, but you're neglecting all these other parts of life that are also important. How can you have more harmony across them? Or maybe you going that extra mile to get that PowerPoint, the period just in the right place, but you're not at home with someone you really care about and love. Does that really matter enough? Or, where are your values? What's important to you? So that can really be important.
The other piece about, learning to love somebody you hate, that principle, it was really, if people don't want to go that approach, because people might be like, I don't want to, and I'm not saying you have to go be a runner.
How did that help you? Can you talk through how that helps?
Yes. So if you don't want to go that way, it's leaning into something that you have resistance to, perhaps. And it's really, I was never really a runner, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was really embracing that beginner's mindset. So if you don't want to think of it as loving something that you hate, think of it as, let me just embrace something new. Let me try and experiment. How do I make this fun? Right?
Yeah.
And so it's finding the joy in it. And I knew, like, my sister and I decided to run together, become runners at the same time, because we were both single at the same time. And we decided to run 2 races that year. Now, our goal was not to come in first place. We were not runners. We were not elite runners. And so it was more just, how can we feel good about this and accomplish this, right? And so how do we run a 5K? How do we run a 10K? And so, of course, there's a lot of false starts. There's pain and strains and rain that comes up. And so you learn to move through all of that, which is it creates this discipline to move through what you cannot control.
And also teaches your brain, I'm safe. I'm safe trying these things I don't know how to do, because that also comes into play with perfectionism of like, I am only safe if I know how to do this well. But as you try something, and courage comes from trying something you don't know how to do, you're like, oh, I didn't die. Like, this is okay. I'm safe. This is fine. Like, nothing tragic happened. You know, nobody hates me right now for starting. And a lot of my perfectionist clients also have imposter syndrome.
Yes, that is a big thing.
Yeah.
Big thing. It definitely relates. It overlaps. Procrastination, imposter syndrome. It's all tied into perfectionism and recovering perfectionism for sure. I want to say most of my clients identify with either being a perfectionist or recovering perfectionist. And when they come to me, I said, well, you're a recovering perfectionist. You're on the journey of becoming less rigid and more flowing in your life. It's that flow rather than force type of energy.
Right.
So how you show up in that way, as opposed to the rigid, it's moving from rigidity to flexibility, right?
Yeah.
Flow rather than force.
Yeah.
So it's learning to dance, learning to be in the in-between. And sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes that makes clients uncomfortable, because they come to me and I'm like, yeah, that's the work. That's the work, you know, and I give them a question, and it might be towards the, might be getting towards the end of the session. And I'm like, yeah, so that could be an action to consider, how you can learn to, be in the in between of this right now.
Yeah.
And, it's something for them to ponder and think about.
Yeah, being uncomfortable isn't bad. That's probably the single most important thing I can let anybody know is discomfort does not mean bad. It means that's the space where you should grow. And if you can get comfortable being uncomfortable, you can expand, you can evolve, you can test things out. And things are comfortable just because they're familiar. And we associate familiar with safe.
Yes.
And uncertainty is unsafe. So if you're a perfectionist, you've been a perfectionist for your whole life, decades, whatever it might be, doing something that's not according to that, framework is going to feel uncomfortable. But if you can push through it and practice, and again, it's about being courageous and just trying it.
Yes.
That's how you work through it.
I love that you bring up the courageous part of being a perfectionist. And that was part of my journey that came out of running as well. It allowed me to embrace being uncomfortable, right? And it allowed me to learn how to...
You're literally uncomfortable because you're running a lot.
Yes, and embrace change. Yeah. And it allowed me to take more risk in my life. I mean, from that one principle, it really is, it was so life-changing, learning to love something I hate. It was so life-changing because it just created so many more opportunities for myself that I would not have had, right? I mean, from traveling to countries I never would have considered before, developing countries, and, I've hiked up to Mount Kilimanjaro, I went to that summit. Yeah. But before that, I would never have done that. I just wouldn't have. Camping and hiking and, not with your regular toilets, it's just, if you're on the Inca Trail, that's a whole nother trip. That was Peru. Yep. Squat toilets. You gotta learn to.
Yeah. You can't be a perfectionist there.
No. Yes. So embracing all the things that you don't know that you're going to encounter. And that's one of my favorite analogies I give my clients is, when they're working through change and uncertainty, because that's a big part of the work that I do with my clients. Again, perfectionism, certainty, they want certainty, but there's all we have in life is change and uncertainty, and we can only control so much, right?
Yeah.
And so I give them this analogy of you're on a hiking trail and you've never been on this hiking trail, but it's an adventure, right?
Yeah.
And so you're on it and you're exploring and you're having fun and you're in the moments and you're in nature and you're in tune with yourself and you're just going to take it where it goes. And it's not about knowing what's about to come. You might have an idea, you might know there's a waterfall at the end
Yeah.
and you're on your way there, but you don't know necessarily how many rolling hills or how steep the incline's going to be, to get there. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And you just can't see the end of the path. And so sometimes that helps people embrace to move through uncertainty, whether it's in work, whether it's in relationships, whether it's having that difficult conversation that they're so resistant to have, whether it's, their direct reports or it's their manager or it's their partner, whether it's a business partner or their actual romantic, partner. And people get so caught up in how is that other person going to react, and that they then will avoid or resist having those conversations. So I do that work and I help them work through having those difficult conversations. Again, ties into my HR background and employee relations, performance management, all of that. I usually say to people, you could call me up. I said, don't call me up 3:00 in the morning, but you can almost call me up 3:00 in the morning. I could probably just say something and it'll just come out of me,
Yeah.
have a difficult conversation, because that's what I did day in, day out.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And a lot of times I find that my clients, like, that feels like a big step. But usually the first step, which is something that is just a shift, is just trying to be mindful of when you are showing up as a perfectionist. So what are some of the things that you work on with your clients? Because it can feel so close to home. Like, we talked about it. It feels like it's your identity. So to let go of that. So that's where I find that just being aware and mindful of it. And trying to treat yourself as a human and showing up with kindness and humanity to yourself. Sometimes even thinking of your own self as a friend, because sometimes we're kinder to other people than ourselves. But what are some of the things that you work on that are,
So it really depends on what's coming up for somebody, what's coming to mind right now. Yes, I love the compassion piece, moving through, with grace and ease. That's a big part of it. And what's coming up is sometimes people don't know how to get started. And so as perfectionists or even recovering perfectionists, I still do this. Sometimes we have to lower the stakes, right? And just short term. And that doesn't mean intentionally go and do a crappy job on whatever you need to do. But sometimes you just can't get started, right? And so lowering the stakes allows you to move through that resistance, move through that procrastination, and just let it flow. Sometimes it's actually changing where you're sitting. Like if you're used to sitting at a certain place, at your desk, and you need to work on a creative project, maybe you need to shift and change locations. Maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to, let your mind wander, right? And allow the thoughts to come through. I do a lot of that myself. Movement is a big piece that helps us, tap into our creativity. And so some of these strategies pair really well with movement and reflection.
In what way? What are some examples?
So movement, I mean, again, like I started with running, but running, walking, hiking, dancing, any kind of movement, yoga. So it could be any kind of movement, but it just allows you to shift into your body and to be more present, and allows you to embody, more of the essence of, being a recovering perfectionist. It's getting back to like our inner child, right? That the joy and the creativity and the curiosity and the wonder. And so even asking yourself questions too, like when you, with the beginner mindset, I wonder if, or what could be possible, that sort of thing, that can help you move into it with a little bit more grace and ease, for sure.
Yeah. And I find, I also am a recovering perfectionist. And I tend to be up here, and a lot of my clients are.
Yes.
And so I have my own coach, and we're working on how do I feel it in my body. So it's interesting to bring movement, because I feel like that forces you to. But even if you can't, like,
Yes,
maybe you're working on something
The
for work, but like,
feelings.
what am I feel like? Why?
Yes,
Asking yourself,
the
why do I
feelings.
feel like I have to put so much effort
I
into
definitely
this,
agree
and
to
like
that.
where in my body, what's labeling the emotion?
Yes,
What is it
for
making me
sure.
feel like I need to do? Or I'm feeling this way, and now I'm like, what are you thinking? Are you feeling like if I don't nail this presentation tomorrow, then my boss is going to fire me? Is that just a story your mind made up, or is that actually true? Maybe you have a really abrasive boss, and that's true. I'm not always saying that what your thought is not the truth, but a lot of times our mind makes up really creative stories that seem logical, but they're just jumps, and they're wild, actually. So you have to check yourself, which is uncomfortable too. It's not normal, but if you could take a step back and be like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Why am I thinking this? Maybe there's an alternative.
Yes. And to add on to that, yes, for sure. We want to I'm big on acknowledging feelings, for sure. Like, check in with yourself. What are you feeling? What's really happening here, right? What am I making this mean?
Yes,
is a big
meaning
question.
making.
Yeah. And what's really behind it? What's the fear? What's the worry? What's the insecurity? What's really behind it? And so really tuning into that, really getting honest with yourself, working with a coach or business bestie or a trusted mentor or somebody, to help you figure that out. I mean, you can journal on these as well. These are great. But so really getting tuned in and challenging that inner critic, because the imposter will try and take you out.
I love to name it. I love to give it a wild name that it's that's Ronaldo showing up and telling me I'm not good enough, but that's not so me saying it.
Yes, I love that kind of approach. It made me think of a client where we had come up with naming his inner critic Charlie. I was like, oh, Charlie's showing up again. It was so funny.
But it's helpful because it creates a distance between that and yourself, because a lot of times, again, the self-worth, self-identity, it's not you saying that. It's just a part of you that has valid reasons, and we're going to honor it, but it's not the whole picture. And maybe there's a different part of you that should step in right now and take the wheel and drive you in the direction you need to go in.
You have also to sometimes talk to that fear. And fear is not all of you. Fear is just a part of you. Fear is just a protector.
The more you dismiss it, the bigger it
becomes.
Too.
Yes, exactly. It's that resistance, like, oh, I don't want to acknowledge it. But you do want to acknowledge it and and kind of honor it too, and even speak to it like, oh, fear, like, okay, I know you're just here to protect me. I've got this, and I have.
And most of the times our fears are from things that happen when we were younger. So to speak to it like it is the child and identify the age that it is, because we're generally gentle. We're gentle with children. So if you can speak to that part in like a softer way, and that's where the compassion comes in, it could be helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
And also understanding that you can be a perfectionist in some areas and not in others, and noticing where it shows up. Like, it's not always at work. I think that's the stereotype, is like, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my work, and you might be like, no, like, I know you talked about it, like, I thought I'd be a type A mom. I'm like a type B or
It's
C.
so funny. I find that so fascinating.
But like, I'm a perfectionist at work. So if you're someone who's not a perfectionist at work, but maybe like tying back to the relationship, like maybe you are having some perfectionist tendencies of like your partner's not taking out the trash the exact same time and way that you want them to, that's a little controlling. Maybe there's something there. And so maybe it's impacting your relationships or some other part of life that's not strictly professional.
Yes.
Does that come up for you too?
You know what? I find that so fascinating when we were talking about this before, just prepping for today, and the idea of, oh, you could be a perfectionist in one area and not another. And you shared with me what you just shared about, being a parent. You thought you would be, but you're more relaxed. And I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I personally, I think I'm like, I
Even across the board.
Yeah, it's not like it's one part and not another.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And it's still a work in progress for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important to name.
Yeah.
Is being like, it's okay that I'm not perfect at recovering from perfectionism.
Yes. I mean, it's yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. That is not the goal.
Yeah.
Perfectly not perfect is not the goal.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to strip you of your perfectionist tendencies. We're working with you to leverage those strengths and use it as a, again, that superpower, because it does serve you well. And so we want you to leverage those superpowers.
Yeah. How does it help you as a coach being a recovering perfectionist?
Yeah. So I would say, because I can see it right away in my clients.
And it's so cool you have the life experience and also the knowledge and professional expertise to back it too. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So I can see it, and I'm willing to share where it makes sense, my lessons learned, my mistakes, and stories, analogies that are relevant for clients. I have a blended coaching approach. It's not just all questions.
Yeah.
I bring in the HR perspective, of course, and the mindset perspective. I have that training as well. And so, and helping my clients, in terms of the stress channeling and nervous system calming practices, because that, again, we want to calm our nervous system, regulate, so that we can maybe take that step. Because I've seen it where clients come, they teach me how to be a better coach, my clients.
I love that.
Yes.
It's a two-way learning street.
They inspire me.
Yeah.
Because when you have clients that, I have clients that will lean in and take the action, and they'll come back and say, okay, I did this, and I'm still, still triggered. That's another sign. Like, if you're triggered in some way, that's, in your body, feeling reactive. And so, but then I have other clients, and we get curious no matter what, but I have other clients who will show up and they still haven't taken the action. And so I had to make sure, like, I am not attached to my clients' goals or actions or anything. So I guess in that way, I am not being a perfectionist. But at the same time, of course, I want them to make progress. But I am okay with it's permission to go at their own pace. And I am literally not attached. Which
I'm sure sometimes it's like, did life things happen and you just couldn't do it, versus this is where procrastination is tied to perfectionism of like, if I don't think I'm going to do it great, I'm not going to do it.
Yes. And there's a difference. And so when they show up, when a client shows up, I need to get curious, and I just ask them, like, what happened? Was there something that stopped you?
Right.
Do we need to strategize more on this approach? And they tell me, well, I did this. It's just so much going on. I'm so busy, the typical type of things. And I'm like, and I'm listening. And, one client, he was procrastinating going to the yoga studio. He had moved recently. He had moved. He wanted to get into a yoga studio, and he comes back and he was settling in his new home, and he's like, I still haven't done it. And it had been like a month. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but I joined in a gym and I started going. And I said, well, that's progress. I said, okay, you're being active.
That's how you're defining and measuring it, right? Like, I want to get more athletic and fit, and then you're not running, a marathon. If that's your measurement, maybe you are failing in your mind. But if you're just now going to the gym a few times a week, and that was like, there you go, that's great.
Yes. And so I was like, that's okay. And so right there, I was like, well, from what you're telling me, it sounds like it's a capacity thing, not that you just didn't want to do it or
Yeah.
refused to do it, or like I don't think you're procrastinating here. I think it's a capacity situation here. And so it's really paying attention to what's going on behind the scenes based on what the client is sharing.
Yeah.
Getting curious. And sometimes people are just not ready yet. They're not ready
that's
to
also okay.
change, and they might need to do some other work, before they get there. And we stay wherever they are, and we just support them. I support them with, making their progress, because again, it's their pace is perfectly fine, and it's permission to go at their own pace.
Yeah. I love that. That's showing up really non-judgmental and supportive, which is what we are here for as a coach.
And I don't know if I mean, I'm surprised in myself that I have gone into that place, because I'll tell you, when it comes to like my siblings, that's not the case.
Well, you're not their coach, right?
That is not the case at all. My sister said to me, she's like, "Oh, you tell your clients what to do, Sarina, right?" I said, "No, I don't tell my clients what to do. I tell you what to do, maybe sometimes, but I don't."
She's like, "How could I switch you to my coach instead of?"
I know. I need to be a little bit better. That's I say it's the older sibling rights, but really I am the oldest, and yeah, so that's what happens, and and where we came from. Our mom, she struggled with mental illness. And so I had to step in that role of being the older, more responsible person in the house, right? And so that's really where that comes from. And so a lot of that's still tied there. Yeah. So it's almost like being a parent to my siblings, when really, how do I be more of a sibling? And that
that relates to the perfectionism.
Yeah.
That's where it does show up in different ways, sneaky ways, right? Like, there's a reason behind it. You're thinking that you need to show up, you need to control the situation, you need to tell them what to do. You would need to be stressed out to make sure something happened, but there's also other more creative ways that you could get the same outcome.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. And stress and struggle is a big addiction for perfectionists and recovering perfectionists. It's still something I struggle with. It's, thinking that I need to. That's why a lot of times people think they have to procrastinate or wait to the last minute and create a sense of urgency. And so that's not the case. And
or be in the right mood. Yeah. A lot of times it's like, I will only do this if I feel motivated to, or if I'm in the right mood to do that. And I would argue that is a form of perfectionism. So getting comfortable with, like, I'm going to do this tired. I'm going to do this when I'm cranky. I'm going to do this when I'm not in the right mood. I'm just going to do as much as I can today, because a lot of, our mood, our energy levels, our motivation levels fluctuate. But being able to show up anyways and do it, and then, adjust as needed as you go is helpful. Yeah. Especially for motivation.
Yes. Yeah. Because, you're not always going to feel in the mood to go to the gym. So if you, or creative projects, or, certain work that we do, like, it might be tedious at times, or, maybe we're not at a place where we can delegate to a team member or outsource something or whatever it may be, depending on what your role is. And so, we have to get things done. And so that's a whole nother topic that I'm playing with right now, is how do you create this sense of urgency, right? Like, tied into impatience, impatience and wanting to see results. It's again like that, like, I want to see the results when I want to see it. Why isn't it happening fast enough? Right. And then it's, so we can find a way, and that, again, like, this is a work in progress. I don't have this figured out. I don't have all the answers to this right now, but I'm playing with that idea of, how do I leverage this impatience piece and create the urgency, to move forward, as opposed to, so channel it in a different way, as opposed to getting frustrated and giving up. It's more like, okay, I want this now. What do I need to do? What is the next right action I need to do? What can I reorganize here? How can I reflect? How can I, reframe this? How can I, move forward in a different way?
Yeah, especially if you don't have the whole plan of how you get there, which is also related to the perfectionism too, of like
Yes.
you have this big goal, and if you don't have all the steps and you don't know exactly how you're going to do it, that's where a lot of people will procrastinate. And it's like,
Yes.
just start messy, and it's better to at least
Yes.
start and get it going.
Yes.
My mantra is always follow the plan and not your mood too, which goes back to what you were saying before. But
Yes.
just start, just do it, and then you can figure it out, because it's better if you make some progress. Maybe it's not perfect progress, but at least you're moving in that direction, rather than waking up when you're 80 and being like, I wish I did that thing. I can't believe I didn't do it.
Yes. This whole you're bringing to mind again an example that for me, that you talked about earlier, about getting the B. And so when I was finishing my bachelor's, I now have a master's, but when I was finishing my bachelor's, I had to finish my honors thesis, and I took it incomplete. I took it incomplete in the research semester, finished that, and then took it incomplete.
Must have been so hard for you.
And then took it incomplete in the actual thesis part. It was, I was on scholarship, so I had to complete this, and it was a requirement to get my bachelor's. And so literally I was up against like different deadlines to get it done, and finally it was like a make or break it almost kind of moment. And one of my best friends, she said to me, Sarina, just get a B and get your degree. She was like, get a B and get your degree.
What is like C's get degrees?
And because I was getting A's, I had graduated. I went for my associate's degree. I had a 4.0 with the intention to go and receive scholarship and go on for my bachelor's for financial reasons. So that was my goal, and I achieved it. But then I almost just couldn't finish my bachelor's because I just was so caught up in
stress consumes you.
Oh,
and at that point,
it.
right? It's not helpful. It's actually undermining your ability to function, your ability to get the degree.
Yes,
it's undermining your goals.
I couldn't start my career. How was I going to start my career? Right.
Yeah.
So that was the issue. And my friend's like, just get a B. In the end, I got a B plus. And I got my degree, so that's all that matters,
Now you're here.
Yes. So, and I have moments, definitely. And I think this falls into being a perfectionist, recovering perfectionist, is that it's like the all or nothing thinking, or all in or all out. And so in terms of like, it's either working or it's not. It's either I'm doing this or I'm quitting, right? So watch where you're finding situations where it has to be this way or has to be that way, because that is defining the perfectionist thinking and approach.
Also, like, I always say this word wrong, like catastrophizing something, like it's gonna go so horrible. Those extremes, any extreme language.
Yes.
So is there anything that you wanted to talk about today that we didn't get a chance to speak about yet?
Yeah, I think it'd be great to talk about what people can take away from today and how they can start to really shift from being the perfectionist to more the recovering perfectionist.
Yeah. What are some recommendations you can offer?
Yeah. So we did offer up, some of those strategies already. So it's learning to love something you hate, or the beginner's mindset. So where can you start to embrace the beginner's mindset? Some kind of project, something outside of work, something new, right? Maybe it's an art class that you take and you've never taken art, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's learning the guitar and you've never, played guitar before. And so you're tapping into that. You're tapping into the fun and the joy and the creativity and all of that. And then just really practicing and being self-aware and noticing where your triggers are, noticing your feelings, naming it, challenging like your thoughts. Is that really true? Because that's the imposter coming up. And asking yourself, like, what's really What am I really making this mean? What's really below this? What are the fears? Sometimes people are hesitant to talk about that or look at that. But once we name it, there's such a relief that comes with it.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want to, we're not saying you're going to dwell in it. No, we're not saying dwell in the fear and dwell in the doubt and in the insecurity and the imposter. No, it's more, let's acknowledge it. Let's bring it out into the open.
Yeah.
So it does not control us. Right. So we don't want that to control us. We want to acknowledge it, bring it out of the closet, bring it out of the shadow.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing deeper kind of shadow work right now. A lot of fun, let me tell you. So, yeah, and I actually went to people and got feedback. I went to close friends to get feedback.
And feedback is huge.
Yes. So sometimes we can't see the things that we see. So learning to become more self-aware and sometimes getting feedback from others.
You have to get an outside perspective of like, you think that you need to go 100% to do it well, but getting feedback of like, no, it's okay if like that doesn't really matter. 80 is good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Trust me, people who are perfectionists are never going to, they're not going to show up and do a terrible job. It's just not in your nature.
Yeah,
and so
that's why like the MVP is something I have clients, because you're gonna do a good job, but if you're doing the minimal viable product, that's a great exercise of just trying to do good enough.
Yes.
And another thing we haven't really touched on is boundaries, and a lot of times it's boundaries with yourself of I'm going to set like an hour to work on this thing, and after an hour it's good enough.
Yes.
Or maybe it is boundaries with other people, and you have to explore where your boundaries, you're being lenient with them, or someone is putting pressure and like overstepping. So there is also something there too.
I love that. Yes, it's learning to trust yourself and trust your intuition, and looking at where are you making sacrifices or not enough sacrifices, which ties into also boundaries. I have exercise out there on the recovery perfectionism.
Excessive effort isn't doing as much as you think it is. It's just stressing yourself out and burning you out and draining your mental and physical energy that could be better put to something more productive or healthier.
Yes. It's knowing your limits. Yeah. And like what is acceptable.
Yeah.
And trusting yourself.
Yeah.
And not letting it take you out. Leverage it as a superpower. That is the goal, is to leverage it as a superpower, not let it take you out, and learn to dance with it, learn to flow with it. Right. Yeah. So let yourself be in the in-between. Let yourself not always know everything that's about to happen. Like that's the magical part of life, is not knowing everything, which is hard to say and hard to embrace as a recovering perfectionist.
Well, how do you really embody being a recovering perfectionist?
Well,
like in your life, in your work, and not really just understanding it up here, but living it out.
Yes. Yeah. And some of what we've been talking about, it's really tapping into your self-awareness and tapping into your body, being present, getting yourself out into nature, right? Nature is very healing. And, granted, you might not be able to get out into nature every day, but you can certainly get out and get some fresh air. You can certainly get out and put your feet in the ground and ground in and just, breathe. Like there's different breathing exercises that you can do. There's a take 5 kind of breathing exercise, very simple. Breathe in for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5, do 5 rounds of that. There's, different practices just to ground into your body and just to get centered. We're not saying you have to go meditate, but meditation is great, or moving meditations. So really tapping into your body's wisdom and your intuition and knowing what works best for you. So, yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in and chatting with me today. It was awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so joyful, and yes, I love it.
Same. And so for anyone who wants to connect with you, how can they do so?
Yeah. So you can find me on Recovering Perfectionist with Sarina on Substack. That's the best place right now to find me.
Great.
I have weekly posts that I put out, and I facilitate Tell Tamel Recovering Perfectionist group coaching sessions. So come join us. And so
Cool. I'll see you there.
Thanks.